We are just under 10 days away from the August 3rd trade deadline, and we're getting pretty close to seeing some actual moves being made, which is super exciting. The third wildcard spot has made it so that no team is really truly out of contention this season. Like each team has 5 teams that are not currently in playoff spots, but are within 5 games of a playoff spot. If you add that up, that's 10 teams in a third of the league. We are still waiting for many teams to make decisions, a lot of those teams on if they will be buyers or sellers. But the recent days have made it just a little bit more clear for some teams and what their path will be. So let's break down some of the more interesting teams to me at this trade deadline. I'm super excited to get into it, and here we go. Alrighty, as a Jays fan myself, this will be tough to talk about. They are going to be sellers after, honestly, what has just been a hugely disappointing season. They came in with World Series expectations, but they find themselves 9 games under 500. They've lost 5 out of 7 coming out of the All-Star break to really kind of put the nail in the coffin. They're 6 games out of the third wildcard spot, and they have 6 teams to pass to actually get into a wildcard spot, so the hill is super steep to climb. They're going to be trying to compete again in 2027, so I don't think we're looking at seeing them trade anyone with much term like Ernie Clement or Louis Varland. Varland has been one of the best relievers in baseball, so if you get that Godfather Mason Miller package, maybe you think about trading Varland, but I seriously doubt it. I think the Blue Jays want to win again next year, and that will be their goal. On the other hand, Kevin Gausman and George Springer are both expiring and are likely pretty valuable with proven value in October. Shane Bieber also expiring, has been really, really good his last 2 or 3 starts, and Dalton Varsho could be valuable, but they also could be given qualifying offers. That's Varsho and Bieber. They could be given qualifying offers after the season, so not necessarily guaranteed for these guys to get traded. It's going to be a seller's market, and the Jays have a lot of pieces that could help them honestly restock their upper and lower levels of the farm system, and have a lot of pieces that have proven they can do it in October as recently as 2025. So would not be surprised to see the Jays kind of sell a lot harder than I think a lot of people are expecting. Sticking in the AL East, it's the Boston Red Sox, and I talked about them in my first episode of this series. I believe they'd won 9 in a row at that point, and I was still a little bit skeptical if they would be buyers or sellers, but they took that winning streak all the way to 15 games. They're now 3 games above 500 and in the third AL wildcard spot. They're exactly the type of team this series is for, the team that you heard was going to be sellers. They were kind of out of it all season, but really quickly in short order, just 2 weeks, they are now going to be buyers. And like most buying teams, they could use an elite reliever, but I think the bulk of their work is going to be done on the lineup side of things. They still just have a 93 team weighted runs created plus. They need to add some thump to that lineup that is getting healthier. They could look at a catcher, middle infielder, even a designated hitter, maybe intra-division trade. George Springer could be headed to Boston. Could be kind of interesting there. He'd be a cool Red Sox in my mind. They're getting healthier. They could be fun down the stretch. I would really like to see the Boston Red Sox really add to this team. At 52 and 51, the Washington Nationals have had a pretty good year by Nats standards. Don't be too harsh on me there. They finished last in 5 of the last 6 years. But this year, their 111 team weighted runs created plus is the second best in baseball. They've scored more runs than anyone in baseball. But if we're being honest, run prevention has really dragged them down, and they find themselves a game and a half out of a playoff spot with 4 teams between them and the final spot. And their odds are just at 7% to make the playoffs according to Fangraphs. But they have been waiting for a really good team to add to for a long time. So I would not be surprised to see them do that and kind of help this young core try kind of make a playoff push. But if they do decide to sell CJ Abrams and Luis Garcia Jr. would be 2 of the best bats on the market. Again, if they decide to sell, I don't know that they have to trade either of those guys. So if the Nats can string a few wins together heading into this deadline, it would be fun to see them add. But playing themselves out of it would add some spice to this trade deadline. They are 4 games under 500, but the Houston Astros don't sell. They have not finished below 500 in a full season since 2014, and with the Rangers at 500 in first place in the National League West, the division is right there for whoever wants it. The Astros don't really have anything super valuable coming off the books after the season, so they will essentially be able to run it back with some offseason additions in 2027. But again, focusing on this season and this deadline, a few wins this week will bring them closer to that top spot in the American League West and would cement them as serious buyers. Like most teams, if they are adding, they will be looking to add some pitching and potentially be interested in a left-handed bat to slot into the middle of their lineup. Pirates fans, you have been waiting a long time for this. You have not finished above 500 in more than a decade. That is since 2015. But this year, you have scored the second most runs in baseball. You have a top 5 starting rotation by F4. And most importantly, you are just half a game out of the third National League wildcard spot. You are probably a year or two away from really going all in, and there will be some difficulties adding payroll. There always is when Bob Netting is your owner and he's as cheap as he is. It's pathetic. It's terrible. But man, I could really see you guys looking to add some back-end relief help and really make a run at your first playoff appearance since 2015. It seemed like the Cincinnati Reds had kind of turned a corner making the wild card in 2025, but they find themselves in the basement of the National League Central again in 2026, and they will be selling at this trade deadline. It would be fun. I doubt we see them move Ellie De La Cruz or Hunter Green, though, even though they will be taking calls. They're much more likely just to get off of Eugenio Suarez, Emilio Pagan, and Brady Singer, and really looks to get back in that wild card mix in an open National League in 2027. The Arizona Diamondbacks own the third National League wildcard spot right now, and their pitching staff is only getting healthier as Mike Soroka, Justin Martinez, and Zach Gallen near their returns. I also don't think a lot of people remember that Corbin Burns could be pitching for this team in October. They do have just a 93 team weighted runs created plus. They need to add some offense, particularly at first base is where I am targeting for them. If they do address that and address it effectively, they could make some serious noise at this trade deadline and down the stretch in this season. The Kansas City Royals will be selling at this trade deadline, and it sucks to see them waste another elite Bobby Witt Jr. season, but that is exactly why they won't be selling too hard. They will be trading expiring guys like Lane Thomas, but if we're honest, a lot of their expiring contracts really have not played well. So we could see them get spicy, get a little bit greedy, and trade Michael Wacha or Seth Lugo, who are both under control through 2027, but they are much more likely to focus on adding depth and trading expiring contracts and getting back in the wild card mix for 2027. And last but not least for this episode, the Philadelphia Phillies are pretty secure in that National League wildcard race. They are currently in the second spot, and they will be looking to add at this deadline. They could use a back-end bullpen guy. They could definitely use some starting depth, and they will be looking to add a right-handed bat. There have been some whispers of them actually trying to acquire one of the higher-end starting pitchers on the market. I'm looking at Kevin Gausman, Freddie Peralta, or Robbie Ray, maybe even Shane Bieber. All of these guys would be super fun Phillies. And that Philadelphia Phillies core is getting old very quickly. So now I think it's kind of the time for them to do what they have to do to give themselves the best chance, the best shot to finally get over that hump in October. Would love to see the Philadelphia Phillies in a World Series again this season. Bryce Harper deserves it. That team is super fun. It's a very likable team, I find. Would love to see that group of ragtag veterans finally get it done. And that's all I've got for you for this video. I really do hope you enjoyed. If you did, please give me a like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff. And stick with us at Diamond Centric throughout the trade deadline. It's a super fun time of year, and we've got all the coverage you need to take you through it. We'll talk soon.